Welcome to the Fantasy Football Anonymous Show, our final show of 2017. I'm Joe Osno here with Rob Shaw, and we're just kind of here to spitball with you this last this last week. Just talk about a few things that stood out to us over the season. I know most people don't play fantasy in Week 17, and there is a lot of unpredictability. But for those who do, we'll throw out a few players that we like too as well and during this show. And Rob, what are some of the major storylines from this season that really stood out to you, or some funny things that happened?
Well, I'm in three finals, and I've got three finals. By the way, we're not editing this show. I'm just posting it right onto YouTube as is, so you can have kind of a casual feel. Any stupid thing we say, you're gonna hear it. So, three finals. I have huge leads. Yeah, I'm like the Buffalo Bills. I don't feel comfortable until I go into that locker room with the win. So, I don't know. So there's been a lot of interesting storylines this year, particularly, fantasy football wise. Amari Cooper was awful. That was one of the biggest surprises of my year. Joe, like what were some of the players that I said one that was wrong? What were some of the ones you were right about this season that you can think of?
Well, I owned a lot of shares of DeAndre Hopkins. I didn't think he was going to be quite this great, but I knew it. I felt like he was a great value for where he was going. We've seen, how prolific he can be, and then he comes out and has a career year this year, and we got to be really excited for what's coming with Deshaun Watson returning healthy next year. So I think he's the guy that's going to be drafted in the first round from here on out, pretty much.
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins, that was a guy I didn't get in any drafts. We do a lot of auction drafts, so sometimes even in a snake draft, you don't get the guy that you always want. And I wanted him. I really thought he'd have a good year. I didn't think he'd be this good, but I felt confident in him. I didn't get him. Le'Veon Bell, he was one of my guys. I was huge on. I mean, why wouldn't you be? But he's had a lot of suspensions. He's had, injuries. Played a full season. As a matter of fact, the only game he'll be sitting out is this last one, which kind of segues. We're kind of going all over the place this show. Joe, who are some of the fill-ins? Okay, what are people going to do? I own Le'Veon Bell. What should I do, Joe? Who should I start in his place?
Well, I really don't know that if I can recommend Stephen Ridley on this show. Plus, he was a guy who was signed a week ago, and we really don't know how the work's going to split out between him and Toussaint or whoever else they decide to play. I really miss James Conner. I picked him up in so many leagues, just to use in case Bell got hurt or happened to just sit out, these last couple weeks, and that didn't work out for me. So I would say Malcolm Brown, I think, is an okay fill-in for Los Angeles Rams. They play San Francisco. That's been a pretty soft run defense most of the year. He's a guy you could look at. Speaking of bad defenses, the Chargers play Oakland. There's a chance that Melvin Gordon may sit out that game. So I'd say Brendan Oliver's an interesting add too.
Interesting.
But the word is he'll start. I think last week he had eight carries for 9 yards. So that's not good, but he's a guy who can make a big play.
Yeah, guy
here and there.
Get in there on the receiving game. I like Brown. That was a really good pick.
What about you? What are some of the backups that you'd be considering? Or did I steal all your guys?
Well, Ridley, I would recommend Ridley. I think there's going to be some volume. I just, he had 9 carries last week, and, he was pretty involved in the offense. So I think he will get a majority of the carries this game. I'm not expecting Bell numbers, but they are playing Cleveland. I think that's always a positive. The other side of the ball, though, Ben Roethlisberger's out. He was one of my guys in two of my championship leagues. So I was kind of scrambling a little bit here, especially because one of them's a 2-quarterback league. Anyways, Landry Jones, I mean, he's put up some decent numbers. I know last season, week 17, he put up a big game, 20-plus game. And that was without Antonio Brown. He had a touchdown pass to Kobe Hamilton at the end. It wasn't. So he had a good showing. It was against Cleveland. So Jones can be a good one. But one guy I really like that you can still pick up, he may be on the waiver wire, is Tyrod Taylor this week. Playing Miami, had a good week a few weeks ago. And that could be kind of a sneaky play because let's face it, the top dogs, they're already taken. You're kind of going to take some of those mid-range guys if you're having to look on the waiver wire, free agency. So Taylor, I think he's a good play. And yeah, just hope you have a lot of these guys like McCoy and I can't even think of that. The Ravens players. All these players that even Giants play. Just like teams that are playing for something. I'm just, Joe, I'm a little shocked that Landry Jones is playing. This was pretty big news. I feel like we have to talk about this. They can still get home field advantage technically. What's Tomlin thinking here?
I guess he's more concerned with keeping his guys healthy for the postseason. They've already locked up that first round bye. So it just he may consider one more valuable than the other. He's got a veteran group. I guess he trusts them to play on the road. And he knows there's a chance Tom Brady can beat him at home as well. So maybe that's his thinking. I couldn't tell you, but I think he's a guy who values having his players rested for that playoff run more so than home field advantage.
So I think it is kind of a bad move, but I will give Mike Tomlin this. I'll give the staff this. That they might beat Cleveland anyways. Let's get real here. I mean, they did it last year. They could value, just like weighing the risks. We could hurt one of our star players, or I feel like they still can win this game. Like they're that confident in their squad. So I mean that might be the reason, and he wants to sit them out so they don't get hurt. Whatever it is, that's just kind of weird. So back to some of the things I was right about. I don't think
things you were right about, not what you were wrong.
Did I even say anything I was right about? I don't know. DeMarco Murray, I hated him this year. I really just wanted to stay away from him. I owned him in Dynasty. Me and Schroeder talked about the fact that I traded him away for in one of our leagues, traded him away in a Dynasty league for Michael Thomas. I mean, Michael Thomas, that was a steal. DeMarco Murray, we forget, he has an injury history. It's not like this is new. He kind of shocked us last year by playing a lot of games. The thing I was a little shocked by is that Derrick Henry didn't really step up. I thought he might have a big year, but he didn't really. So,
yeah, I feel like that whole Tennessee offense has been such a huge disappointment. We expected big leaps from Mariota too. That line hasn't played well either. It's just been a really disappointing season for the Tennessee Titans, who I think we all liked heading into this. That offensive line was so good a year ago. We're just running over everyone. And especially for a guy like Derrick Henry, who needs a couple steps to get going, and then he's really tough to tackle. But he just hasn't had the room to get going this year, and he's not really a guy who makes a ton of things happen on his own. His thing is he's a really big, fast guy who runs over the competition once he gets going.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Um, I'll just say real quick, I was right about Adrian Peterson. That was a bad fit in New Orleans. Kamara just took a. I did not expect Kamara to do that well. And Ingram, I kind of did. Ingram's been a solid guy over the years. I don't know why they weren't feeding him early. They could have won some of those games. I think if they get to the red zone, give it to Peterson. He just didn't do very well. Um, but one of the guys, well, I really should have wrote some more stuff down. I forgot what I was going to talk. I was going to segue in. That was just a side note um, about some of the guys. One of the guys.
We can talk about some more of the stuff that we were wrong about.
Yeah. I know what it was. Yeah, that's what I was going to segue into. Is what I was wrong about. Thank you. I can remember those. So I was wrong about two things, and they both involved the same team. I thought Davante Adams, while he would still be effective, I had him in the top 25 in my preseason rankings. I had Jordy Nelson close to my top 5. I think he was at number 6 or 7. Wow. Now, we didn't expect Aaron Rodgers to go down. I do think Jordy Nelson can bounce back next season. I think he's still a valuable player. He can be a top 10 guy. He needs Aaron Rodgers to do that. Davante Adams, he's just a good receiver. He had a good year last year. I thought he was a little too touchdown dependent. I think I was a little higher on him than you guys this year. But I still have lots of reservations on him due to he didn't get 1,000 yards last year. Well, this year, I mean, he's shut me up. I mean, he was a top 5 guy going into last week. He didn't play last week because of the concussion. But yeah, he had another monster season. What's looking like a top 10 year, 2 years in a row. So yeah, I had him reversed. I had the wrong receiver this year in Green Bay. So yeah, that was a bomb. Yeah, what's one that you messed up pretty bad?
Well, I will say I did have Davante Adams ranked as a wide receiver 2 this year,
okay.
So I liked him well enough. But it's funny, they kind of flip-flopped what they were doing this year. Jordy was a top 5 receiver before Aaron Rodgers got hurt, but he was kind of the guy who was a bit touchdown dependent. Most of his points came from finding the end zone, while Adams turned out to be the the big yardage receiver. But I agree. I think there has been something of a changing of the guard there in Green Bay. But there's obviously going to be multiple valuable receivers to own as long as Rodgers plays in Green Bay.
Very true.
A team we were all wrong on, the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up next, actually. Good call. Let's get into that.
And often, yeah, there's been a lot of these quarterbacks that we expected to take the next step who have actually taken huge steps backwards in the 2017 season. That offensive line, another offensive line that we thought was so safe, so secure, they were just going to continue to maul in 2017, and yeah, there has not been consistent value in that offense at all this year. Amari, we were all high on both those receivers, and while Crabtree was the more steady weapon this year, there was obviously some ups and downs with him too, and basically with Amari Cooper, you got like 3 good games, and that was about it. The rest was very frustrating player to own. You owned him more than I did,
and it's shocking. Those are the 2 leagues that I'm in the championship. So I must have drafted some other good players, but yeah, he was frustrating. I think I had a very good year this year, and a lot of that, yeah, I drafted well. Yeah, I did that. I got some luck too. Everybody needs luck. One of my leagues, I do not think I have the best team, but a lot of it is this season for me. And this will backfire on me next season. It's one of those things that, yeah, you're not going to get it right. but knowing when to play guys at the right time. I bailed on Amari Cooper. Sometimes you have to like bail on your guys. I haven't started him. I'm actually starting him for the first time since that monster game he had. I think the week after, because after that I was like, I'm done with Amari Cooper. Yeah, you got to bail on guys, and you got to use guys. I used Will Fuller those few weeks. Then once Watson got hurt, I was like, okay, I'm out. You know, you really got to know when to stop trusting a guy. Whereas Kirk Cousins was a guy that he has a tendency to post very good games. So I was like, well, I'm not going to give up on him yet. He's helped me out. He's also let me down. He was actually a bad example. I think I flip-flop weeks. I'd play him whenever he had a bad week, and then he'd have a good week whenever I benched him. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's another offense that was really inconsistent this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's certain times where we need to just learn to trust the player and not focus too much on their situation, because we don't know how it's going to turn out. Like, the Rams, that was just such an awful situation to be in. There's no way Todd Gurley could have value there, and he turns out he has 2,000 total yards and almost 20 touchdowns. He probably would get 20 touchdowns if he plays in week 17. But yeah, DeAndre Hopkins, like we saw a guy trade him away for Zach Ertz right after the Watson injury.
Schroeder brought that.
Well, yeah, none of us were happy because we obviously think there's going to be great value there for him in the coming years. So
yeah,
maybe a bit of a short-sighted move there. And it turns out he was great. He's great regardless. Just one of those seasons where it works out for him.
Yeah, he's Antonio Brown. Like that's who he is. Like he's that high caliber player. And
very different in styles, but
yes, I agree. Totally agree. But Schroeder brings us up when we'll segue into a few dynasty things here to close, to get y'all off on the right foot in your dynasty league. But you want to acquire talent because situations are constantly changing. And if you can get a talented receiver, a guy that you believe is truly great, that can produce a lot of fantasy value for you if you're just patient and you don't bail on it. Joe, I was thinking, our final thing here, to send our fans, with some advice, in this offseason, if you are in dynasty leagues, who are some guys you're thinking of right now that you can be buying low on in your dynasty leagues? Maybe some guys you feel like you can sell high on. Are there any guys you've had on your radar?
Well, I know one of them I own in a dynasty league. It's Mike Evans. He's had a really up and down year. He hasn't been the touchdown maker that he was a year ago, but I still believe he's one of the best receivers in the NFL. That Bucs offense, it has the pieces to be good again next year. There was a lot of dysfunction this year. I think he's one. Another one of the guys I talk about all the time. I think Sammy Watkins. I think with a full off season in LA, he has a chance to really take over. I think he is the most talented player there, and we've seen him be healthy for a season, which is the big thing. Well, obviously, we don't know if he's going to be there next year. A little bit of upheaval there, but I think he's the guy that you could probably buy low on because he was such an inconsistent player for a lot of the season.
I actually can't stand Sammy Watkins, but I'll give you this. I'm not going to trade for him, but I will give you this, that there's a price for everyone that I'm willing to go, and someone might have the bar very low and give it for a deal that I like. He is talented. You have to give him that. So, yeah.
That's your words. That's what we need to be focused on.
Yeah. No. I just, maybe my bias is coming out because I'm a Buffalo fan, and so I don't know. But I've just had my heart broken too many times by Sammy Watkins. Jordy Nelson was a guy I kind of like. Now, this is the kind of move you're going to make if you think you have a chance to be very competitive next season because he is getting old. But that already has his price pretty low in a dynasty, so he could be a guy you can make a run at. Heck, Amari Cooper.
He's another good one.
I think he's very talented. I think no one looked good this year in that offense. So I mean that can be on the up and up. He still hasn't ever really been a top 10 guy. So I have some reservation. That's why I kind of said Amari Cooper, but he is talented. There's potential. Devontae Adams was not a top 10 guy until his first couple of years, and then he became top 10. But I think one of the biggest names out there. Well, you said Mike Evans. I think that's a home run right there. He's so talented. Another guy I'm buying, they're all receivers, I noticed. We haven't named a running back. Receivers carry some value because they can be steady. They can have long careers. But I like T.Y. Hilton as a guy to buy into because Andrew Luck will be coming back next season. I think that's going to – I mean, he had some good games this year. I mean, typical T.Y. Hilton fashion, 25 points, then like 2 the next week. But, he was a top 5 guy for a couple of years there. And with Andrew Luck as the quarterback. So he's a guy I might be looking at this offseason to make some trades. Guys that I'm kind of selling high on. I'm not giving that much thought because I'm too confident in my players. I don't want to get rid of them or anything.
I was going to say a couple of running backs I was going to throw out.
Yeah.
For undervalued players, I think I sound like a broken record here, but Joe Mixon, nobody was met behind the line of scrimmage more than this guy this year. I think there's unbelievable talent there. He has a chance to be a monster, in the coming seasons. So talented, so skilled. I think there's only plus we've seen what a coaching change can do for a running back that we all know is talented, and Marvin Lewis is finally on his way out of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So, and a guy whose value I think might be a little bit suppressed because of injury, Dalvin Cook in Minnesota. Yeah. He was really coming on before he unfortunately tore his ACL early in the year. But he's a very young, very talented player on a team that's on the rise.
It's funny you say that. I've been targeting him in one of the dynasties that I was out of the playoffs. I kept targeting him I was like trades, and get McGrady to do it. So one of our friends. Anyways, yeah, like running backs. That's something interesting you say. I would maybe sell Keenan Allen high. Can you believe it? He played the whole year like he was healthy. I just get a little nervous about that lasting. And he was kind of not doing that well. He wasn't great early. So I would probably sell. I know one trade I saw was Schroeder. He did sold Keenan Allen for Joe Mixon. That could pay off. That could be a good move. Some guys we've mentioned here. And as far as quarterbacks go, I haven't really thought about the quarterbacks. So you got any quarterbacks you're feeling good about?
Not that I'm feeling good about. Well, Garoppolo's on the rise. Jared Goff's the guy I got rid of in Dynasty a year ago. I abandoned ship a little bit too soon. But, I couldn't afford to keep him from year to year.
Yeah. And he hasn't been that amazing either. Like, he's been okay, steady, top,
Yeah, honestly, I think the great quarterbacks are going to be ones who are coming out this year.
Yeah.
So for our dynasty owners, I pay closer attention to them.
Yeah, I do.
I think they're going to be some who are really valuable for fantasy in the coming years.
I will say I do like Garoppolo. That was I meant to mention him. they've won 4 straight with Garoppolo. Like, it's incredible. You get another year where he learns the system, and
they get him some receivers too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's doing it with spare parts,
like,
pretty much.
Like San Francisco, let's put a fantasy football aside. Well done there on that trade. They were demanding a really high that they wanted like 2 firsts for Garoppolo, first and stuff. They waited it out. Now his contract is coming up. Brady keeps talking about he wants to play. They settle on a second rounder.
We see why. We see why the Pats were holding on to him for so long. They knew he was good and they wanted to keep him.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, he looked good in those games. And, fantasy football wise, we'll see what happens there. He hasn't been spectacular yet. He has put up some solid games. Like you said, once he gets weapons, we might see something more there. But I think they have the quarterback of the future in San Francisco. That division next year, I cannot wait. That is going to be a fun division to watch. David Johnson comes back for the Cardinals. You got the Seahawks, who are kind of deteriorating, but they have Russell Wilson. So you got the Rams, who look great, and then San Francisco, could be on the rise a little bit. That's going to be my favorite division to watch next year. That's going to be pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good one. A lot of good young players out there.
So, do you have any more thoughts or something before we close here?
I mean, I could talk the night away, talking football.
Yeah.
But
sure, we can do that.
Nothing's coming to my mind that we haven't already covered. But I enjoyed talking more about what I was right about than all the things I was very, very wrong about.
Yeah. Well, when we do it, we're gonna do
save that for the blooper reel.
Yeah, for the blooper reel. There you and we'll talk about our season a little more, some of the reflect once Schroeder's back. Our plans for this show, this is the last show of the year. We're not going to do it during the playoffs, mostly because the fantasy pool you're picking from is just very small. And we're more of a season long, weekly fantasy. Within all 16 games or 13, so yeah, we're gonna stick with that, but we will be doing off-season shows. We're gonna do a show in February, probably talk about the playoffs and the Super Bowl, just kind of reflect on football a little bit. We'll reflect on some of our wrongs and our rights, what we had, and have a good laugh about it, and then talk about some off-season stuff. We're gonna do shows throughout the offseason, probably talk about, some dynasty stuff in February. We'll talk about the draft. We'll talk about fantasy implications for free agency, and then implications for the draft. We'll be doing shows preparing you for your next season. We'll do rankings. We'll talk about a lot of stuff. And we are going to try to also have this show on a podcast as well. We're still working on that. We got a few months to and get that figured out, but we will let y'all know what we're doing. So I know it's kind of hard to watch this on YouTube sometimes. So if you're in the car, you can listen to it on the road, and that can be really, really enjoyable. I know I do that more often. So it'll be the same show, just in audio form.
So you don't have to look at our stupid faces.
Yeah, exactly. Joe, you got anything else before you close us out for the season?
Not really. I just wanted to say thanks for watching. Good luck, everyone, and Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2018. And stay addicted.
Stay addicted.